The year 1984 is marked indelibly on the minds of Sikhs around the world. A year that witnessed an atrocity against a people so terrible that even today, nearly 40 years later, its deep resonance isn't just still felt by the victims, but even by those who actually perpetrated it. Events so terrible that 25 years after the event, an Indian High Court judge demanded the whole nation should hang its collective head in shame in the eyes of the world. The event has been described as a genocide, worse still, a genocide perpetrated by a state. This is the story of the Sikh genocide. 39 years ago, what happened on the 1st of June 1984 would begin a sequence of events that would see tens of thousands of innocent men, women and even children butchered, raped, burned alive in the streets and in their homes, in an orgy of violence and carnage. When a supposedly civilised section of a modern democratic society were whipped up into a fury so intense they became a rampaging, animalistic mob intent on wiping a whole community off the face of the earth. But how had it come to this? What made so many people living side by side for decades suddenly turn on each other in such a violent and brutal manner? To understand this, we need to go back in time and unfold the events that led to this brutal massacre.
Anandpur de prastav vich saaf hai rajsi samvidhan di sirjana prapti. ਸ਼੍ਰੋਮਣੀ ਅਕਾਲੀ ਦਲ ਦੇ ਵਿਧਾਨ ਦੀ ਧਾਰਾ ਬੜੀ ਸਪਸ਼ਟ ਹੈ ਰਾਜਸੀ ਸੰਵਿਧਾਨ ਦੀ ਸਿਰਜਣਾ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤੀ ਸ਼੍ਰੋਮਣੀ ਅਕਾਲੀ ਦਲ ਦੇ ਬੁਨਿਆਦੀ ਢਾਂਚੇ ਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਕਨਸਟੀਟਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਮ ਅਕਾਲੀ ਦਲ ਦੇ ਵਿਧਾਨ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਾਬਕ ਜੇ ਅਕਾਲੀ ਦਲ ਹਿੰਦੁਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਨੇ ਰਾਜਨੀਤਿਕ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਮੰਨਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਹਿੰਦੁਸਤਾਨ ਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਮੰਨਿਆ ਕਿ ਅਕਾਲੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਰਾਜਸੀ ਸੰਵਿਧਾਨ ਦੀ ਆਗਿਆ ਦੇਣੀ ਪਏਗੀ
The roots of the massacre can be traced back to the 1970s, when the Akali Dal, a Sikh political party established back in the 1920s, became the political vehicle that focused grassroots demands of the people of Punjab for greater autonomy against the control of Indian central government. A proud people, already battered by the violence and divisions that followed partition, simply wanted recognition as a people and the ability to administer their own state. In the decades following partition, government promises made to the Sikh population were betrayed one after another, as the Punjab was divided into two, then divided again. They found their language and culture marginalised, and by the 1970s, Sikhs, traditionally a peace-loving culture, found themselves forced to fight even for their basic right to exist as a society. As anger grew, the ruling Congress began to lose their grip on the region. And so in 1975, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi imposed a 21-month presidential rule on the Punjab, a constitutional instrument allowing her government to take direct control over the state. In outrage, the Akali Dal and the Sikh leadership denounced the Prime Minister's act, and seeing this as a direct challenge to her authority, the issue suddenly became very personal for Indira Gandhi. Anti-Sikh sects were then quietly given state support, whipping up anti-Sikh sentiment, and a dirty war against the Sikh community followed, culminating in the deaths of 13 Sikhs in 1978. As the rule of law began to dissolve, violence on all sides threatened to snowball. In desperation to find a peaceful solution, the Akali Dal met and created the Anandpur Sahib resolution, a resolution that set out a list of requirements covering both religious and political issues, including the recognition of Sikhism as a religion separate from Hinduism and a fairer distribution of powers for the state of Punjab. The people felt it represented a genuine solution to long-held requests for simple rights, such as a fairer share of water for irrigation. However, the resolution was rejected out of hand by the ruling Congress, fearing it was a stepping stone to creating an independent state of Khalistan, despite repeated assurances otherwise. And it was this simple rejection that sowed the seed of disquiet that then began to permeate through the people of Punjab, an undercurrent that, with the out-of-hand dismissal by central government, eventually nurtured the anger into widespread protests and the subsequent emergence of Sikh separatist groups such as the Punjab Freedom Movement. This culminated in 1982 with the Dharam Yudh Morcha movement, or the Peaceful Agitation for State Rights, created by a key figure of our story, Sant Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale, the Sikh leader of a seminary school, Damdani Taksal. The movement's primary purpose was to campaign for the Anandpur Sahib resolution. But as support for the movement grew, it once again caught the attention of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, who began to recognise it as a genuine threat. As a result, the campaign was met with orchestrated repression and brutality by the authorities, as police ferociously clamped down on protesters. Thus began the spiral of events that escalated a simple demand for recognition into a sequence of increasing violence between campaigners and the authorities. The more the authorities clamped down, the more it fed the resentment and anger amongst the Sikh masses, and the more it popularised and strengthened the movement to free Punjab, with Sant Bhindranwale as its figurehead. He became the banner to which the disaffected Sikhs flocked. Within this explosive mix, militancy grew, with even ordinary, otherwise indifferent citizens becoming sucked into the violence as the state backlash against the protesters became increasingly fierce, including extrajudicial killings. Punjabi youths, many already unhappy and disillusioned as they struggled to find work, now found a cause to target and focus their anger and energy, and they swelled the ranks of the militant groups. Then, as events began to spiral out of control, in 1983, in an act of desperation, Indira Gandhi declared the Punjab a restricted area, barring access to all foreigners and non-Indian journalists, and deployed paramilitary forces to the region. With authorities now given free rein away from the eyes of the world, the clampdown stepped up a gear and let loose a series of extrajudiciary killings. In response, realising they would never achieve justice through traditional means, Sikh vigilantes sought their own vengeance against the state-sponsored killers. It was clear the state was descending into chaos, and the Indian government knew they had to do something radical to contain the pressure cooker before it exploded. What they chose to do was decisive, and it was radical. But it would also double down on the terrible misjudgment they had made in taking on the Sikhs in such a brutal manner. And it would be the act that would cause not just the murder of a prime minister, but the massacre of tens of thousands of innocent men, women and children.